Anyone knows the cause of auspiciousness of today? Yes, it is an Ekadashi. And it's a very special Ekadashi known as Shayana Ekadashi or Ashad Ekadashi. So Shayana means sleep. So from tomorrow onwards, or this Ekadashi marks the beginning of Chaturmas, which is more relevant for people in India because here there's no rainy season now. So in Chaturmas, because of the lot of rains, many sages who otherwise would travel place to place, they stay in one place and practice a lot of austerity. And it is one of the times when a lot of devotional service can be performed, right? And also, this Ekadashi is the time when the day when Lord Panduranga Vittala appeared, right? So it is a very auspicious Ekadashi, and all of you have come to hear the divine words from the lips of that Lord Panduranga Vittala on the battlefield of Kurukshetra as Krishna, right? So it's a very auspicious occasion, and all of you have taken the right decision to attend this class. And we were doing chapter 7, right? And in this chapter we are discussing about what was discussed last class. Anyone remembers? How many of you attended last class? Okay, fine. So we discussed something about energies of Krishna. So I'll just summarize that in advanced view. No, I'll just go through it. So this is a very important chapter. So as previously discussed, the Bhagavad-gītā has how many chapters? 18 chapters. Okay. Those who are in white will not answer. So 18 chapters. What is the total number of shlokas in Bhagavad-gītā? 600, 700, 800, 900. 4 options. 700, right? Yeah. 700 shlokas, right? And in all this amount of knowledge is broadly categorized into 3. The first 6 chapters, they constitute karma yoga. That means how should we work in this world in the right spirit. All of us are professionals or students, and it is very practical for us to read that again and again. During my examinations, which I had to give for entrance, either into undergrad or post graduation or residency, what we call, I had to read those chapters again and again, because it teaches you how you can study in the right mood without getting frustrated or attached to the result, right? So karma yoga. And the last 6, that is 13 to 18, they deal with topics of jnana yoga, right? And the middle 6, which is like the sandwich, the main substance is in the middle, right, covered by 2 slices of bread. So main substance of the Bhagavad-gītā is bhakti yoga, which is from chapter 7 to 12, right? And in that we are discussing from chapter 7. Okay, so we are specifically dealing with 7.14 today, but I'll just go through briefly so that all of us are on the same page. And you may feel free to raise your hand any time in between the discussion. I'll try to keep as short as possible, and let us have more interaction, because Bhagavad-gītā is a practical science which has to be applied, right? And we'll start with prayers. You can repeat after me. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Right. So in the beginning of this chapter 7, Krishna talks about his energies, right? Who can tell me the verse where he speaks about material energy? Bhumirapo nalo vayu kammano buddhirevacha, right? So basically Krishna is talking about himself, not in a very egocentric way, but actually so that we are educated spiritually so that we can make the right decisions in life, right? It is said in the Shastra that the absolute truth or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known by different names, and the most famous is Krishna because it describes his all attractive feature, which includes his strength, fame, knowledge, renunciation, and all those qualities to the fullest extent, right? Beauty. So this person, Krishna, the Shastras describe that his glories are unending, and the Ananta Shesha, the serpent bed of Lord Vishnu, each of its thousands of hoods goes on describing the glories of Krishna, but never to meet a full stop, right? That is the unending glories of Krishna. So when Krishna talks about himself in Bhagavad-gītā, that I am the source of everything, from me comes the material and spiritual worlds, in 10th chapter, he talks about how Maya Dakshena Prakriti, I am the supervisor of material nature. Mattah Parataram na anyat. There's no one equal to or better than me. So in all these verses, Krishna is talking about himself. But when you see that actually his glories are unending, then we understand that when Krishna talks about himself and limits it to few verses out of 700 slokas in Bhagavad-gītā, we understand that he is being very humble and compassionate unto all of us. Because if he has to glorify himself in unending verses, none of us will be able to complete Bhagavad-gītā, right? So when Krishna talks about himself in the Bhagavad-gītā, it is not out of egocentricity, but it is actually just stating the fact for our benefit, right? So he talks about his energies in 7.4, 7.5. Krishna says that Bhumi rapo nalo vayu kammano buddhirevacha ahankara mitiyam me binna prakritirashtada, that there is all that you can see around you is matter, right? This table, this laptop, your body, all this is matter. Basically the modern science describes everything about matter. But yes, we have a psychiatrist, Dr. Abhay also with us. So there's something, science, modern science dwells into mind, right? But mind, is it matter? Yes or no? Because mind is not something that you can really perceive by touch or smell or sight. So is it matter or not? Is it spiritual? Okay. But here in this verse, Krishna says that Bhumi rapo nalo vayukam, earth, water, fire, air, ether. These are 5 gross elements. Mano, buddhi and ahankar. Man is mind, buddhi is intelligence, and ahankar is false ego. These are the 3 subtle elements of the subtle matter, right? So there's gross matter, there's subtle matter, but all of it is material energy, right? So what is spiritual energy? Then Krishna talks about apareyam mitastvanyam prakritim vidhi me param jiva bhuta mahabaho yayedam dharate jagat. So then Krishna says there's also another energy beyond this material energy, that is spiritual energy. So science also describes something known as antimatter, right? That is a spiritual particle. So antimatter and spirit are synonymous. So this antimatter or spirit actually has no origin in the material world, because in this world, in the world we live, everything is matter, right? So spirit cannot come from matter. This spirit is energy of Krishna, which is very subtle and which is not at all like matter. Matter degrades, whereas spirit, it is actually gives life, right? We are all alive, not because the body is spontaneously functioning, but because we are all spirit soul inhabiting the dead body, right? We have heard that 2.13 and so on. So now Krishna is saying in 7.5 that I also have a spiritual energy other than the material energy, and that spiritual energy can be two types. What are the two types? One spiritual energy is that which constitutes the spiritual world, of which we have not much experience because we're in the material world. And the other type of spiritual energy is, it is spirit but can be overcome by matter, right? That is the jiva, that is all of us, you and me. So we are actually spirit soul, but we are inhabiting this material body, right? The body with the head and the trunk and the limbs, this is only a material body which decays with time and ultimately drops dead one day. And the spirit soul goes to the next body based on two factors. What are they?
Consciousness at the time of death.
Okay, karma and desire. Karma and desire. Okay, so based on that you get different bodies. But the spirit soul is a spirit which is actually unchanging despite the changing nature of the overlying body, right? Because we see, if you take a photograph of your childhood, it's completely different. But is it you? Yeah, your mother says, even though now you may go home, your mother will pinch your ears and say, you are a naughty boy when you were young, or you're a naughty girl when you were young. But you can tell mother, you see the photo, that's not me at all, because it's completely different from how I look right now. But actually it's the same, right? Because unconsciously we know that we are spirit soul, not the body, right? Because the mother is not getting confused. Oh, my child used to look like this, how come he's completely a different person? No, she knows that the body is changing. It will grow up to a certain point before it drops dead. But the person, the personality, that in the soul which is in the body, that is the same person, right? So that jiva or the spirit soul is what you and I are really. No, that's a true identity. And that spirit soul has a nature of being on the borderline. So it is also known as Tatastha Shakti, right? What is the Tat? Tat means bank. Yamuna Tat, right? Ganga Tat. Tat means bank. So if this is material energy, this is spiritual energy. On the bank, the spiritual energy which is on the bank is called Tatastha Shakti, right? And why is it called Tatastha Shakti? Why is it called Tatastha Shakti? Because time and again it can get overcome by material energy. Per se, the spiritual energy is superior to material energy. Actually, matter is dead, but spirit is what gives life. So spirit actually is superior energy, matter is inferior energy. So matter should not be able to overcome spiritual energy at all. But the spiritual energy which is on the tat, on the bank, on the border, that can be overcome by material energy, right? That's called Tatastha Shakti. Example for Tatastha Shakti is soul, spirit soul, right? How many of you did not understand what we discussed till now? Oh, this is the basis, because many new people are not attended the previous session, so I'm just creating a foundation before we go on. Because if you don't understand this, then beyond this everything is like Latin, unless you know Latin, then it will be Greek. Okay, so Krishna basically describes about his energies, and then he talks about all created beings have their source in these two natures. Of all that is material and all that is spiritual, know for certain that I am both the origin and dissolution. But what is Krishna, or the absolute truth's position? He is the source of both the energies. He is actually the supreme spirit, and he has many energies, right? Parasya Shaktir Vividhaiva Shruyate, the Vedas, Upanishads describe. That means the absolute truth has many energies, multivarious energies, right? But broadly they can be categorized as what we are discussing, material and spiritual, in which spiritual is superior, material is inferior, and spiritual energy that can be overcome sometimes by material energy is called Tatastha Shakti. Example is you and I. Okay, but Krishna, or the supreme absolute truth, he can never be overcome by material energy. There is a philosophical school which says that God, actually we are all God, and Om Namo Narayana, they greet each other saying that you are also God, I am also God, but we have forgotten that we are God because of the material Shakti which has overcome us. But if that is the case, then who is God? The material energy, right? But material energy is not God. How do we know that? In 9th chapter, Krishna says, Maya Adhyakshena Prakriti. Prakriti is material energy, and under my supervision, my material energy is going to act. And in the verse today also we'll see the same thing. Daivi Hesha Gunamai Mama Maya is my energy, which is the meta energy, like that. And Krishna states his position. He never gets affected by his meta energy or any of his energies. He is completely the controller of his energies. Just like we have a prime minister or a president of the country, and he has many departments. The department doesn't sit on his any time, right? Of course, in democracy it's a little different because you are being chosen by the people. But otherwise, the head of the country, the king of the country, he's actually has a autocratic rule. He's superior. He's superior most, right? He controls everything. Nothing, comes above him. Similarly, God has no one equal to or above him, right? That's what Krishna says, and he is the control of everything. And then he starts explaining how you can see the absolute truth even in the material objects, because he gives everything in this world the substance. Like, if you're thirsty, you drink water, but there's a complete mechanism into which we'll not go because that's for like higher studies. In Bhagavatam is described how we actually get the taste. Like, you eat something, your favorite sweet, say rasgulla or sandesh, you eat that and you get taste and you enjoy it. But how is that, how are you tasting? Because you're the spirit soul sitting in the body, right? Like, you're the driver of the car, and if you polish the car, are you getting nourishment? No. But how the spirit soul inhabiting the body, which is like a machine, how is it able to interact with the world and get all the sensual enjoyment, like seeing beautiful things or hearing nice music or tasting wonderful things? So how are we able to interact and experience sense pleasures? Or behind all of that, Krishna has a hand. And then he goes on to say how he is the essence of everything and best of everything. And more elaborately he tells again in the 10th chapter. Okay. So this is important to understand. We should not get confused between God's position and our position, right? Okay. So in 13th and 14th verse, it mainly describes the relationship between God or Krishna and the Jiva or the spirit soul and Maya, meta energy. These three things. Okay. Yeah. Tribir Gunamayair Bhavair Ebihi Sarvamidam Jagat Mohitam na bijanati Mamebhyah Paramavyayam. Deluded by the three modes, the whole world does not know me, who am above the modes and inexhaustible. So Krishna or God is above the influence of material energy. Now I'm talking so much about the material, we all being spiritual particles, and time and again being overcome by material energy or being influenced by material energy. But how the jiva, or what is the effect of material energy on the spirit soul, right? Like, we say that we are overcome by material energy, but what does that mean? So that's what is explained in today's verse. So all of you repeat. Daivi Hesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya Mameva e Prapadyante Maya Metam Tarantite. Yeah. So Daivi Hesha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya. Daivi means Daiva or transcendental, divine. Now Krishna is talking about material energy here, who is personified by Mother Durga, right? So he is talking about material energy, and he says that yes, material energy is my energy, Mama Maya, and it's very difficult for the Tatastha Shakti, all of us, to overcome this energy, right? It's very powerful. Its influence is very hard to overcome, right? But just till now we were discussing how the spiritual energy is the superior energy. So we move back. So till now we were discussing how the spiritual energy is actually the spiritual energy is superior, material energy is inferior, and the spiritual energy is a divine energy, whereas material energy is actually which is represented by dead matter. So it's not very so divine. But here Krishna says it is Daivi or divine because it is related to him. So anything that is connected to God or Krishna is actually divine, right? Because it's connected to Krishna. So hence he calls it divine. Daivi Hesha Gunamai. Guna means modes. So how does Maya or material energy exert its influence over spiritual part and parcels, like all of us? What does it mean that we are overcome by the material energy? Is it just that we are embodied beings, that we are in a material body, or is it something else? How do you think material energy is going to have an influence on spiritual energy? Any takes on that? Those in white.
By 3 modes.
Yeah, by 3 modes. So you can understand 3 modes as imagine there is a simple story of a cap seller. All of you have heard the story of a cap seller who went in and slept under a tree, and the monkeys took all the caps, and then he did something, got all the caps back. So this story of the cap seller can help us understand the effect of material energy. Now this cap seller, carrying a big basket of caps, he went to the tree, and it was hot noon, so he had to take rest, and he saw that this huge banyan tree was having its canopy spread all over, so there was good shade, and he took rest without taking care of his basket. And by the time he got up, in few hours, all the caps in the basket were gone. They disappeared, and to his surprise, they were all on the top, not simply hanging on the branches, but in the hands of monkeys. And then scenario A, he started wailing and crying and say, "Oh, I have not sold anything, and now all the caps are gone, and what do I do? How shall I show my face to my wife?" And he was simply crying. Scenario B, he got very angry. Throwing curse words at the monkeys, he also grabbed a stone and pelted at the monkeys, and they all ran away, and ultimately he did not get the caps. Scenario C, he understood that monkeys are very expert in mirroring, or just repeating what it sees. So he also took on one cap that he had, that he used to cover his face while sleeping. So he took and gathered the attention of the monkeys, took the cap in the hand, put on his head. All the monkeys mimicked his action, and took it off his head. All the monkeys mimicked his action, and he dropped it. All the monkeys did the same, and he got all the caps. Now there are 3 scenarios in this, right? So which scenario would you like to be in, or which scenario would best describe your decision taking? Like, honestly, most of us not scenario A, I bet. Either B or C, or understood, no? Or A or B, right? Mostly we are in A or B. So when we respond to a situation by giving up, becoming hopeless, depressed, and in terms of psychiatry, worthless, hopeless, and helpless, right? That's the definition of depression, simplistic definition. So in that way, we are coming under the influence of material energy, specifically under the mode of ignorance or tamoguna, right? And in the second scenario, we got angry and lost his discrimination and simply pelted stones. That would do no good. So that describes the mode of passion. Just out of a surge of energy, he did something, right? But A, where there was clarity of thought, calmness, composition of mind and heart, and he used his head to actually execute something which became successful in the later run. So that describes the mode of goodness or sattva guna, right? So material energy exerts its influence on the jiva, which is spiritual, tatastha shakti, through these 3 modes. But it's not so simple. Why it is not so simple? But it's not that, okay, I'm under mode of goodness or passion or ignorance, but rather a combination of all 3. Just like, what are 3 basic colors from which all the colors are obtained? Yeah, red, green, and green.
Yeah, red, green, and green.
But yellow plus blue gives
Green.
okay. Yes.
It's red, blue, and yellow.
Yeah, red, blue, and yellow, right? Because blue plus green, yellow gives green. So these three colors actually give rise to all the colors depending on the proportion of how much you take of each color, right? Similarly, if you have this much goodness, this much passion and ignorance, it actually leads to one certain type of character. If you have this much goodness and this much passion and ignorance, it leads to another type of character. If you're predominantly goodness and passion and very less ignorance, then you are said to have a noble character, right? Like that, there's a whole chart into which I'm not going, because Krishna describes it further in 16th and 14th chapters. They will describe in full detail about modes. It's one of the most practical sections of Bhagavad-gītā. Even if you're an atheist, you can still read it and gain a lot of benefit, practical benefit in your life, right? So anyways, so that's the way the meta energy is going to exert her influence on the jiva, on all of us, right? So basically, in any situation, you have three options. You have a red color button, you have a yellow button, and a blue button, and you can only choose the how to respond, right? In one way, you have the freedom to choose the three, what you want, red, yellow, or blue, as a reaction to the situation. But in another angle, you don't have actually full independence. Let's say we celebrated Independence Day, right? But actually, the jiva is not independent because it is covered by the meta energy to the extent that he has only got three options. So what is the natural state of the jiva? In the natural state of the jiva, it is actually being part and parcel of Krishna. Krishna says in 15th chapter, Mama evamsha jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha. So Mama evamsha, that means all these jivas, all of us, are part and parcels of the Supreme Lord Krishna. Another place Krishna says, Aham bija pradapita. And being my part and parcels, I am the seed giving father of all the living entities, right? So what is the relationship of jiva and Krishna? I gave you A, B. So A plus B equals 10. So what is the relationship between jiva and Krishna?
Krishna is the master there.
Yeah, he's a father, right? He's a father, or he's the master of all the living entities. So even in the Upanishad it said, Nityo Nityanam Chetanas Chetananam Eko Bahunam Yo Vidadhati Kaman. There's one supreme eternal and plural eternal subordinates. There's that one supreme eternal is always providing for the necessities of the plural subordinates, and that person is God, and rest all are eternally the fragmented part and parcels of God, right? So that's the relationship between jiva, that is you and I, with God or Krishna, right? Why that is important? Now we'll understand what is the relationship between jiva, that is all of us, with his energy, right? So till now everyone is on the same page, right? No confusion. Okay, good. So we'll start reading translation purport. Translation. This divine energy of mine, Krishna is speaking, consisting of the three modes of material nature, all of you know what they are now, three modes, is difficult to overcome. So what influence the material energy has on us, the Tatastha Shakti, is very difficult. Sometimes we think that it's easy to press the yellow button or blue button, but it becomes very difficult because we have something known as conditioning. What is conditioning? Just like if you have a wet cement laid over the road, and you didn't know it was wet, you just put your foot into it and removed, it leaves a print, correct? It goes down. Now after it consolidates, now anytime you put water on that pavement, the water is going to go in that direction because there's a footprint which is creating an artificial trough, right? So conditioning is something like that. Because of previous action in previous births, so we tend to act in a similar way. For example, you see that one person like Gandhiji, he said, someone slapped him. What he would say? He'll show the other cheek. Someone slapped me, that would not be my response, right? So why is it that some people react in a specific way, whereas others completely lose control of the situation? It is because the effect of material energy, and it's not easy to change. It's not that okay, now I'll just respond in the mode of goodness. Now I failed in one exam. Now I'll just decide not to cry now. Okay, I click mode of goodness button. Was it easy for any of you at the time of reversal or setback or failure just to choose mode of goodness and be cool about it? No. Why is it that? Because Krishna is saying, Mama Maya Duratyaya. This energy or influence of the material energy over us is very difficult. Very difficult. You cannot do it by yourself. Right? Krishna is giving the solution here, but I'll keep it a suspense. Okay? But of course, Krishna, I cannot do it much because Krishna is revealing here. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. So, can we do it? Can we overcome the influence of material energy? Yes. But is it easy? Not at all. Why it is not easy? Because we have created such kind of blueprints for our reaction in our mind, in our subtle body, through action previous lifetime and in this lifetime. For example, throughout your life you are a big fan of Bollywood, and on Google you would put B for Bollywood, right? B, that's how you type Bollywood. You have to start with a B. Now you attended Sunday evening class. Now you want to read something about Bhagavad-gītā 7.14 you want to read. So now you type B. What will come? Huh?
Bollywood.
Not Bhagavad-gītā, but you want to do Bhagavad-gītā, na? You want to read Bhagavad-gītā. So similarly, because of our previous actions in other lifetimes and in this lifetime, we've already set a pattern for reaction. And hence, when a certain situation comes, there's a tendency to act in a similar way. Unless we become devotees of God and learn to surrender to God, and then what happens? Krishna gives us the strength and makes the third button more accessible. And actually, for a devotee who is dear to Krishna, he has one more button other than the three buttons. And that button is what will please Krishna. That's why we see those who are devotees, for them, they are able to do anything and everything. Right? Why is it that? Because they are only concerned about what pleases Krishna. How can I please God? Because they have understood that I'm not this body, I'm spirit soul. Being spirit soul, my relationship with God is I am son, he is father. I am servant, he is master. So my duty, my way of becoming happy in this world is to serve the Supreme Father. Just like if you are hungry, if your limbs are feeling fatigued because of not eating for a long time, hypoglycemia, low sugar, then how will you eat? How will you actually overcome that problem? Probably you'll go to the kitchen and pop 2 or 3 gulab jamuns in your mouth, right? But can the hand say that why the hell should I put gulab jamun into the mouth? I am feeling fatigued. So can he crush and savor the gulab jamun and gain energy? No, not at all. Similarly, we being part and parcel of Krishna can only become happy when we go through the main root of our existence as God. So when you put, when there's input into, or when you serve God, then automatically we become happy because that is our relationship. Just like if you want to water a tree, how many of you are gardeners here or have done anything regarding gardening? Yeah, some of you. You have some experience. So how do you water the plant? Do you just take a bucket and pour over then how do you water it? Where do you put the water? On the roots, right? But how do you see that the plant is getting dehydrated and shriveled, affected? You see the leaves are shriveling, but you don't put water on the leaf. It has no capacity. You have to put on the root. When you put on the root, then through the xylem, phloem and all those structure, every part of the tree is going to get nourished. Similarly, when we understand that the root of our existence is Krishna, by serving Krishna, we actually become happy, right? So that is our relationship. Now, in order to overcome the influence of Maya, by surrendering to Krishna, Krishna helps us to, have the strength and to make the right decision. Like makes the button more accessible and gives us the strength to press that button. Like if you have undergone a failure or a heartbreak, if you press the mode of goodness button, you can just remain cool. Fine, everything is in this world is temporary. You're not at all affected. Amazing. Lord Ram, when he was coronated as a king, all of you know Lord Ram. So initially, Dashrath was very happy that because Lord Ram is being coronated. The whole city of Ayodhya was in jubilation because Lord Ram is being coronated as the king. Next moment, because of Kaiki's, his stepmother's, plan and conspiracy, he was immediately dethroned and he was sent to the forest. Not only there's movement from positive to zero, but also zero to negative. Not only he is not the king anymore, but also sent to the forest for 14 years. Understood, no? So that's a very big setback. But what was Lord Ram's reaction to this major setback, unimaginable setback? Completely calm. Everyone in the house was crying. Kaushalya, Dasharath. Dasharath then later gave up his life out of separation from Lord Ram. Lord Ram was completely unaffected because he's a supreme Lord. He's a control of material energy. But the lesson he's teaching us is, if we are in touch with spiritual energy, understanding that everything material is temporary, and rather only substance in this world is in spiritual things like chanting the holy name or reading Bhagavad-gītā, then we are actually able to fight the reversals that come upon in our lives unexpectedly, in the mode of goodness, right, in a very stable manner without getting affected. So those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it, beyond the influence of Maya or meta energy. So there's a strong pushing to surrender to the mode of passion or ignorance. Why many people go to bars and or do intoxication in the form of drugs and smoking and liquor shops? Why? Because a strong push by the mode of ignorance, and which is type of influence of Maya, to take shelter of this mode in order to become happy. But a person who reads Bhagavad Gita, he knows that this is not the way I can become happy. By surrendering to Krishna, by pleasing Krishna and serving Krishna, that is the way I become happy. Hence, a devotee never goes into those things, even in when he is faced with such a big failure. Right? He takes the corrective measures. Okay, why did I fail? Maybe I didn't study this chapter or so and so. But he doesn't have to get depressed and all those things. So he just takes the right measures to be adopted, adopts them, does what is the needful, and then serves Krishna, and he's simply blissful. That's why Lord Shiva tells Parvati in the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam that Narayana para sarve na kutaschana bhibyati swarga pavarganarkeshu apitulyata darshinaha. The best are the devotees of Lord Narayan, because these devotees, having surrendered everything to Krishna, their happiness simply lies in happiness of God. They have no other concern. So whether you put them in hell or heaven or liberation, they are simply concerned with only one thing, that is, how can I please Krishna? And they are hence always blissful. You've seen sometimes devotees chanting and dancing on the streets. They're simply blissful. Right? It's not that devotees have no job in this world. There's so many responsible devotees. I know in Bangalore, so many doctors or CEOs of multinational companies, so many very top positions occupied by devotees. They're very responsible, but they do it as service to Krishna, right? And hence they're not affected by the superficialities of this world. And that's how we overcome Maya. And now we'll just read the purport.
Are you sharing screen?
Oh, I'm not sure. I don't think so. I didn't even know the Zoom on. Okay, so many people are there. Can you share it? Why is it not showing here?
You have to share. Share.
Okay. Yeah. So purport: the Supreme Personality of Godhead has innumerable energies, and all these energies are divine. Although the living entities are part of his energies and therefore divine, due to contact with meta energy, their original superior power is covered. So all of us are spiritual energy, part and parcels, but being Tatastha Shakti, we have tendency to be covered by meta energy, right? And what does that mean, that you're covered by meta energy? We forget that we are spirit soul. We have such an exalted position as being spiritual sparks, part and parcel of God. But then, because of the forgetfulness created by meta energy, we think we are this body, and whole life goes in simply taking care of the bodily machine, right? Everything that we do day in and day out, people are not getting even 6 hours of sleep at night. Why? Because they have to work hard to maintain the body, right? So we forget everything about our spiritual identity and think we are this body and all the designation that come with it. And because of that, yayedam dharyate jagat, in this world the spirit souls are simply unnecessarily struggling for existence. Struggle for existence is not the job of spirit soul. But because we have forgotten our identity, there is struggle for existence. As previously stated, both the material and spiritual natures, being emanation from the Supreme Lord, are eternal. Right? So it's not that though the manifestations of material energy, like this TV, do you think this TV is eternal? No, it will decay, it will go. But the material energy, like all of you have studied law of conservation of energy. So material energy per se is eternal, though its manifestations are temporary. Okay. So being thus covered by material energy, one cannot possibly overcome the influence. And this is more about energies and what we've discussed till now. We'll go to the next para. Another meaning of guna is rope. So you can take the three modes like with example of rope. Like we are all bound by these three modes without any hope of getting out by ourselves. Imagine you are tied by your with ropes. Your hands and legs are tied. Can you escape on your own? Can you depend on another person who is tied to unbind you? No. Similarly, like sometimes we take, like my grandmother, because she has great difficulty in walking and getting up or sitting. Sometimes she holds on to something which is mobile, like like a gate which can move with some range of motion. She holds that to get up. Is that a good idea? Why? It's moving, it's not stable, right? So a bound person cannot depend on another bound person to get out. We cannot depend on things that are unstable to become stable, right? Rather you will become more unstable. So Krishna says that depend on me. Mam evaya prapadyante. When you surrender unto me, you can get freed. So a man bound by hands and feet cannot free himself. He must be held by a person who is unbound. Because the bound cannot help the bound, the rescuer must be liberated. So who is liberated? Who is not in touch with the material energy? Krishna. So Krishna, being the controller of material energy, never gets succumbed to material energy. So only Lord Krishna or a person who is his pure devotee, because a pure devotee is Jivan Mukta. Though he is in the body of a material body, he is still liberated. He is not affected by the changes of the material body. So either Krishna or his pure representative can release the conditioned soul, which is you and I. So without such superior help, we cannot find freedom from the bondage of material nature. So how do you take shelter of Krishna? What do you mean by asking, is there a number that you can call Krishna? No, there is. If you take Vedas to be a directory, what is a phone directory? In India we still have, I don't know here. So it's a big book with all the numbers in the city or locality, whatever, from in alphabetical order sometimes. So if in the Vedic directory, if you go, Indra, Vayu, Agni, so many demigods, 33 crore devatas are there, na? So all their numbers you go, nobody is available 24/7. Everyone has prerequisite that you should be in this state, this time, this muhurta, this yajna, all that. But we are all Kali Yuga Vasis. We are in such a helpless condition that we are not able to find ingredients for yajna, or some puja is required. We don't have no pure, even the fruits are GMO or have pesticides. Ghee is adulterated with vegetable fat or animal fat. Tirupati Laddu conspiracy. Okay, like that. Nothing is pure. So nothing works. But there is only one number which says hotline available 24/7. And that is in the Kali Santana Upanishad, it is said, Iti Shodashakam Nam Kali Kalmashanashanam Natah Parattaro Payah Sarva Vedeshu Drishyati. All the Vedas are saying this one fact, proclaiming very loudly this one fact, that this 16-worded Mahamantra, which Mahamantra? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This Mahamantra is the only hotline available for the glorious Kali Yuga Vasis, and it is available 24/7. What is the example for it? Draupadi. When she was being disrobed in the assembly of Kurus, and she helplessly called out, Hey Govinda, hey Dwarkavasin, oh Krishna, where are you? Please help. Immediately Krishna was in Dwarka, appeared and manifested as the unlimited sari and saved her honor. Right? Like so many, Gajendra, Ajamila, so many pastimes we have. And in the real life, so many times, like there were few devotees who were traveling in train in India, and they were singing Narsimarti, remembering Lord Narsimha, and the train met with an accident. These devotees was completely oblivious of what happened, and they just stepped out because the train was not, it didn't appear to move. So they just stepped out, and they found themselves in a pool of blood. The carriages before and after them were all crushed because of the accident, and somehow the carriage they were in was saved. Right? It's a miracle, and I know the devotees also in Pune. So this, like this, there's so many practical example of those who take shelter of the Lord's name, and thereby the Lord Himself, because abhinnatva nama namino. When you say Krishna, is as good as a person Krishna. When I say Keshav, if I say in the other room, he'll not be able to hear. Correct, no? Because person and the name are different. But absolute truth means even the name, form, qualities, pastime, and the person himself, all are synonymous or non-different, like that. So when we take shelter of Krishna, that is through devotional service. Devotional service means reading Bhagavad-gītā, chanting the holy name of Krishna. Simple, right? Nothing complicated for all of us, because we have prayana alpa ayusha. We have only 100 years. How many of us live even for 100 years? Probably our great grandfathers lived, that's all. So we have like 60, 70 years. I think Indian stats say that average in lifespan is 67.5 something. So I'm 30, so 37.5 years. I mean, at least. So like that, if not earlier, like that. So it's very simple. Read Bhagavad-gītā, Bhagavatam, chant the holy name of Krishna, come to like-minded association, spiritual association, and thereby we can cultivate this consciousness known as Krishna consciousness, which is the original consciousness of the spirit soul. Now all of us are conscious of our work, of our duties, etc., but we are not conscious of our position as servant of Krishna, and that actually brings us a lot of problems. That's why, why is it that we are under the influence of Maya? Why is it? Because we want to try to be enjoyers in this world. We want to turn our backs to God and try to be independent enjoyers in this world. But then God says, no, that's not the way you become happy. Now we may say, no, I want, like a child may cry and throw tantrums for chocolate. I think Matari is pediatrician. So the children throw tantrums for chocolate. The mother is very hesitant because it's not good for the teeth and the health of the child, right? But sometimes the mother may have to give small slap to the child so that it becomes a little controlled. Similarly, Krishna is telling us through in Bhagavad-gītā and everywhere that your position is actually in the spiritual world. Why are you loitering, on this material world unnecessarily, working so hard, and ultimately you have to waste death and so many struggles and pains and tribulations and pinches and punches, everything. Why unnecessary trouble? Come back to spiritual world, Krishna is saying. But we are saying, no, I don't want to follow you. I want to simply enjoy in this world. I want to get more money, bigger houses, bigger cars, and remain eternally happy in this world. But Krishna is saying it's temporary, Baba. Come back home, which is eternal. Not ready to listen. Then he says, Maya Devi, please take care of them. Then she comes with what Durga has? Trishul. Adhyatmika, Adibhautika, Adi Daivika Klesha. That means troubles due to one's own body and mind. That's where doctors survive. And then troubles due to other living entities, and troubles due to the natural nature, as natural calamities and so on and so forth. So like that, Maya is giving us so much tribulation so that we understand, oh, this is not my place is there in eternal home, Vaikuntha. Like Jesus Christ says, use this world like a bridge to cross over. Don't simply make your house on the bridge. That's foolishness, right? So like that, when we cultivate Krishna consciousness, that can help us to get out of our precarious situation. So the words Mam Eva also significant. Mam means Krishna. So whom do we surrender to? Can I surrender to Agni, Varuna, Vayu? No. Krishna says, Mam Eva ye prapadyante. One who surrenders to me. The culmination of Bhagavad-gītā in the 18th chapter, Krishna says, 66th verse, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam shanam vraja ham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha ishyami ma shuchaha. He says, why are you so much worried about, what troubles will be there? I have committed so many actions in the past, so will I have to suffer all the reactions? Don't worry about all these. Just surrender unto me and make my will your will. Like he told Arjuna that just follow my order. And Arjuna said, Karishye vachanam tava. And hence he became victorious, right? So don't simply try to be an independent enjoyer here and waste your time. Just surrender unto me, and I will make sure that all your reactions are taken care of. Karmani niddhati kintu cha bhakti bhajam. Lord Brahma says, anyone who becomes devotee of Krishna, Krishna takes the karmic account into his hands. And still, sometimes they may suffer. Yes, that is only so that we become more alert and awaken ourselves to the reality of this world and develop the eagerness to go back to spiritual world. Otherwise, the jiva who has surrendered to Krishna, he is completely aloof from his karmic actions, like that. And in this way we can actually, so here you can see the Veda, Shvetashvatara Upanishad, it says tameva viditva, freedom is possible only by understanding Krishna, and that is when we can actually celebrate Independence Day, right? So even Lord Vishnu, Shiva affirms that liberation can be achieved only by the mercy of Vishnu. Lord Shiva says, Mukti Pradata Sarvesham Vishnu Revana Samshayaha. There is no doubt that Vishnu is the deliverer of liberation for everyone. Okay. So the relationship between Maya and Jiva is that of Maya is actually she is actually a servant of Krishna who has the thankless task of troubling the Jivas so that we understand this is not my place of residence. We have to go there, the spiritual world. And the process is simple, especially in Kali Yuga. It is said that the devatas and the saintly souls of the upper planets are like Bhu, Boha, Swaha, Janaha, Mahar Loka, Tapa Loka, Satya Loka. They are waiting when Kali Yuga will come, so that I can also attend the Sunday feast class in NYC Brooklyn Temple, and just by chanting the holy name with that using that hotline number, easily go back home, back to Godhead, to Vaikuntha. Because even the heavenly planets, they are not free from death, though they have a prolonged lifespan, right? Unimaginably prolonged lifespans, but still they are not happy as those who are in spiritual world, and ultimately there is death. Kshine punyam matte lokam vishanti. After the punya runs out, they'll come back, right? So like that. So Maya has a thankless task of giving us trouble. So we don't curse Maya, we have to curse ourselves, our tendency to enjoy independently of God in this world, right? So as we chant the holy name and recite Bhagavad-gītā or read Bhagavad-gītā, especially Bhagavad-gītā as it is, where we can understand the shlokas in so much depth and clarity, then we actually revive our spiritual consciousness. And when we are actually connected spiritually, revive our original spiritual consciousness, Maya has no need to trouble us. No need, right? Just like you enter your friend's house, you enter the gate and the dog is barking so loudly, what do?
You call out friends.
You call out your friend, hey Ravi or hey whatever, your dog is barking, and he'll say, hey Tommy, sit, don't bark. Immediately he'll sit. Similarly, when you surrender to Krishna, Krishna will tell Maya, please step away, he's my devotee, like that, right? So that is the way to overcome Maya, right? Many great souls have trodden the path of spiritual life, the spiritual path, but failing to understand the simple point that surrender to Krishna gives you ultimate liberation, they simply try on their own account, by their own might of intelligence or tapas shakti, they try to do tapasya, but after so many years they fall down from the tapasya because they get distracted. The mind is so chanchala, very uncontrollable, right? But when we surrender to Krishna, Krishna being the cause and control of matter energy, controls your mind also, gives you good intelligence also, and he does everything for you, right? So isn't it simple, the process of bhakti? And this is what is the essence of Bhagavad-gītā. Okay, so I gave a brief outline of what this verse has to say, and what are the important take-home messages. I didn't go into much depth because there are like a lot of new people also, and simply the whole point is to be inspired and not have a big load of information. We're all in modern day world where daily research is going on and so much of information overload is happening. So let spiritual classes not be another center for information overload. Rather, it should be inspiration overload. All of you should get lot of inspiration. Yes, let me chant the holy name. Let me give out books to others. Like we have so many Prabhupada books which are small yet very handy and understandable in simple English language to understand complex Vedic wisdom in simplistic terms, and so applicable. So let us take use of this rare human birth and or rare opportunity of this association in this temple and become very spiritually enlivened and thrilled to spread after making our lives perfect. Okay, so with that, thank you. Any questions? Anyone is free to ask any questions or doubts or need for clarity in any of the concepts. Yes, you can just say your name.
My name's Maithili. Maithili.
Maithili. Okay. It just because for recording it will help.
Okay.
Just keep
So
it.
actually, you mentioned that Gandhiji told if you get hit in one side, show the other side also. I've heard that it doesn't mean keep getting hit more and more. It
Yeah.
actually means insult the other person. So I've
Okay.
heard that. I don't know
Yeah.
if it's true.
Okay. There's not with respect concept, but yeah, it means that, of course, it doesn't mean really insult in that way. It also means that in our life, whatever reaction we face, actually, we've already, we deserve it in one sense. But that doesn't mean that, you have to go asking for trouble. Never. So it doesn't mean that someone is ready to hit you, you show the other cheek also and get hit. Correct? So what it actually means is that you you are bold enough in in that scenario to face the reversal or setback, right? And if your reaction is there, like for example, Lord Ram, when he said to the forest, it is said he was fearless. Why was he fearless? Because being the Supreme Person of Godhead, he doesn't have a karmic account. So if you are free from karma, then do you have to face and be fearful of any reaction? No, because there's no karma, there's no reaction, also no suffering, right? So hence he was fearless in going to the forest. So similarly, when we are actually devotees of God, then you don't have to fear any reaction, because whatever happens in the devotee's life is actually personally orchestrated by the Supreme Lord himself, to the degree the devotee is a devotee. You understand what I mean? So otherwise, of course, it's a material reaction that is coming. So in that way, a devotee is fearless, right? So when Gandhi says that I will show my other cheek, it is also expression of humility and willingness to face any situation that comes, face a karmic reaction that comes, but never does it mean that you should go asking for trouble or foolishly become a doormat for other people to step on. That's never a lesson. That's not humility at all, right? Krishna doesn't support that. Krishna tells, when Arjuna said that, why do I have to fight the Kurus, which is made up of my grandfather, my teacher, my cousins? Why do I have to kill them? I'd rather go to the forest and meditate. Krishna said, how come this kind of a weakness has crept into your heart? This is not the words of a kshatriya. These are not the words of a kshatriya. You're speaking like a eunuch, right? So such harsh words, he insulted Arjuna. Because Krishna doesn't like this kind of pseudo humility. That's not humility at all, to become doormat for others to step on. Rather, humility means that I don't have to think much about myself, because I'm just a small spirit spark. Let me think about Krishna, and let me think about the whole world, which is so dear to Krishna. Now, how can I serve? That is humility, right? So this is my understanding. Of course, it's not. It's his statement. Gandhiji's statement is not Krishna's statement. If it was Krishna's statement, then I could elaborate more. Otherwise, everything I say is like speculation only. So it just means be bold in facing the world. You don't have to fear anything, right? And nor do you have to submit to modes of anger, in passion or ignorance, right? So mode of ignorance would be start crying. Why should you cry? Or mode of passion would be to give another punch, right? His Gandhiji's main motto was civil disobedience. So he was not into mode of passion, but rather in the mode of goodness, just exhibit non-violence. So that was something related to non-violence. If anyone has a better answer, you can give. I'm not so politically sound. Okay, I hope it's satisfied.
Yeah.
Otherwise, one of them will read up
No.
read up the history books and let you know.
It's enough. Thank you.
Thank you. So, any doubt from today's class? Yes.
Prabhu, so you mentioned like to overcome the Maya, we have to surrender to Krishna. But most of us here are working professionals where we have our own duties, we have our own responsibilities. So how to surrender while living like practically, like in practical life, how to surrender while we're
Yeah. So surrender to Krishna doesn't mean that you have to renounce everything and go to forest to meditate on him. Rather, there's hotline available, so you can chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. But what practically you can do, and this is what actually helped me in doing my examinations and all that. The 3rd chapter to 5th chapter of Karma Yoga. So there, Krishna clearly outlines as a person or as a working professional in this world, how can you be Krishna conscious? 2.47 Karmani vadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturbhur ma te sangastva karmani. Be attached to doing your best but not to the result. Don't think your action is the cause of the result that you get. At the same time, just because your action is not the cause, don't become lazy in performing your action. Right? There are 4 points in that verse 1. So we have to apply that. So one thing, how can we perform our activities or duties in a Krishna conscious way is follow the instruction of Krishna in performing a karma yoga. How you should perform. Krishna is saying, don't be attached to result, focus on your duty. Do that. 1. Second is give some exclusive time, like orchestrate or arrange your daily schedule in such a way that you have some time to read Bhagavad-gītā, chant holy names of Krishna, some exclusive time for Krishna. So you have to arrange your day's activities in such a way. Maybe early morning is most preferable, but nevertheless, at least in 24 hours, few minutes for Krishna, right? So like that. And when you do that, Krishna makes the entire day sanctified. Like, when we offer bhoga to Lord so that we can have prasadam, we don't offer the entire, full vessel of khichdi to Krishna. No, we take a bowl and put tulsi and offer, but everything becomes prasad. Similarly, if we give few minutes of our life, of our day to Krishna, the entire day becomes sanctified. Which means that Krishna gives you intelligence and gives you control of mind to act in the right way throughout the day. That's a very practical thing. Anyone who chants nicely, attentively in the morning, and especially for me, it helped me so much to remain stable throughout the thick and thin of any single day, right? Like that. So exclusive time for Krishna, work as per Krishna's instructions. In that way, you can become very Krishna conscious even as a working professional. I know one person, my friend, who is doing his general surgery residency, and he's practically in the hospital, but he chants 16 rounds of Hare Krishna mantra a day. Unimaginable. That's the whole reason I took my branch, dermatology, because there are no emergencies at night. So like that. So he chants 16 rounds, unimaginable, right? So where there's a will, there's a way, and where there's a strong will, there's a clearer way, right? Like the Krishna helps. Okay. Or anything more you want? And like Prabhupada books, any small book, if you can have it handy, any free time, lunch break, this the time, just read one page, will help a lot. And come to association, at least weekly, come to good association, because throughout the day, in the outside world, it's too competitive. Everyone's saying no, somehow destroy everyone and climb to the topmost rung of the ladder of material success. That's the whole motto of the material world, rat race, right? But the problem with rat race, at the end of the race, you're still a rat. So you're not grown. So that's the problem with the material world. But we aren't so interested in the rat race. Yes, there's a struggle for existence. We have to be practical, do the needful. But at the same time, we don't want to remain a rat in this world. We want to go to a spiritual world. So come, enjoy the weekly association here. That will give you a big boost to go ahead in the upcoming week. Like that. Any other questions? Okay. So thank you for your patient hearing. Now we will